Ladies and gentlemen, today we have truly an amazing video because we have the Switch 2 updates, rumors, leaks, and news. But some of these updates moving forward could possibly change the trajectory of the Switch 2, and it's already on a great path. But I mean, like, anything that you thought was possible, we're about to times that by 100. I just think it's going to go down as one of the greatest consoles of all time, and everything we're talking about in this video is going to add to that. So it's going to get right into this. Yeah, that sounds like me just hyping up some stuff that it's like, oh, that's pretty cool, but you know, it doesn't really change much, or it might change something for you, but not everybody. No, that's not what I'm talking about. Some of the updates today truly are going to set the Switch 2 on another path. Like it's going, let's just say it's going like this. If everything works out, it's going to go like this. I barely play my PlayStation 5 as it is now, but there might come a point to where it's like, why do I even have this console? And I know it sounds like I'm being facetious, right? Because there's still going to be PlayStation exclusives here and there. Or is there? No, there will be. But the Switch 2, it's got something special that's happening already. So before we get started, if you could hit a like and subscribe, that would truly mean the world to me. We're like 160 subscribers away from 32,000. Also follow me on Instagram and Twitter so we can keep these communities growing. And let's just go ahead and get right into this. So the first thing I would like to do is talk about a new Switch 2 update. Like truly, a new Switch 2 update, as well as a Switch update. And I believe we got a new firmware update called version 22.5.0, right? And as far as I know, they added a few more languages and obviously stability. You know, that's what always happens. Now, while I'm sure there's some other bigger things that happened in the background on the Switch 2 side, like I think they even made it to where you can rewind game trailers on the eShop or something. The bigger update or the bigger features are actually coming from the Switch. So now the Switch's eShop looks just like the Nintendo Switch 2 eShop, which is, you know, it's cool. It is what it is. It's like, okay, it looks similar, but we don't care about looks. We want to know about performance. And going on almost 10 years after the Nintendo Switch was released, the Nintendo Switch has finally been updated and it's faster. It moves just as good, I guess, as the Switch 2 eShop, and I almost feel jealous. You know, I have a Nintendo Switch 2, but for the people who have a Switch or just got a Switch, they're probably like, what are you guys talking about? This eShop works perfectly. No, buddy, I was there in the dark days, the before time, and it was not that way. I remember my eShop freezing multiple times. So while this is a cool update for the Switch 2, I guess, man, what an awesome update for the actual Switch. Now, let's talk about somebody trying to squeeze Nintendo for $2 million. I know, what a big transition, right? So if you haven't seen, over the past couple of days, a hacker group called ShadowBit3 with a money sign issued a $2 million ransom to Nintendo. This is so funny to me. After the group claimed that it had breached and stolen approximately, now hear me now, are we talking about terabytes, hundreds of gigabytes? How much data did they breach? Well, 859 millibytes of survey data. And they said that includes names, email addresses, and bank statements. But after this happened a few days later, Nintendo has responded to the claims, and they say no personal consumer data was accessed. So it is funny that Nintendo was hacked, and I'm sure there was some cool hacker stuff going on. You know, I don't even know how you would hack something. But out of everything, you're hacking survey data, and the fact that you got 859 millibytes, and then on top of that, you said, you know what, we need $2 million? Bro, going against Nintendo with stuff like this is basically like somebody writing your name in Death Note. Like, Nintendo's going to write your name down, and they're coming for you. All for 859 millibytes, which is absolutely hilarious. So I hope to see how this all plays out. And then before we get into some bigger news, something we expected to see, I mean, multiple times, right? During Summer Games Fest, maybe at the PlayStation event, Xbox event, I thought for sure during the Nintendo Direct was a new look at Sonic Frontiers Definitive Edition, right? This game had leaked out through trademarks, I believe. Then we've seen actual SKU numbers in stores, but we've still seen no mention of this. There's no release date as far as I know. Now we can actually see the real game because it is showing up in stores. And I've seen multiple reports of people saying, like in Walmart, they received a box of it. Some GameStop saying they only got a couple copies. So if this doesn't just randomly drop this week, probably this weekend they'll announce it, and that will be releasing next week if I had to guess. But this is an actual look at Sonic Frontiers Definitive Edition for the Switch 2. And first thing, I gotta say, game key card, that really enrages me. And then on top of that, as far as I know, there would probably be no upgrade path, because there was no upgrade path for Sonic X Shadow Generations, which, that sucks. So I do want to play this. Sonic Frontiers I think is very underrated. Struggled definitely on the Switch, but this is a definitive edition. And yeah, the soundtrack, man, for Sonic Frontiers, so good. So hopefully we get an official update for this very soon. Now, before we get into truly one of the biggest updates for the Switch to this entire generation, and I'm not just saying that to say that, right? There's a random leak going around for a game possibly coming over to the Switch 2. And while I don't see why it wouldn't, it's weird. And as far as I remembered, I thought this is only Xbox exclusive. But during the Xbox showcase, I think, they showed like this new massive update for this game. And then it said PlayStation 5. And then I was thinking about it, and I'm like, I think this game did launch on the PlayStation 5, even though it's like a free-to-play game. But I do think this would be really cool on the Switch too. So let's talk about it and see how we feel. So Sea of Thieves is being developed for the Nintendo Switch 2 and Android devices. And the person right away says, I can't go into too many details on how I know this. However, I can assure you that it is accurate to the best of my knowledge. Android version will be native, no streaming, controller recommended, no Apple version is currently planned. And sometimes you would see something like that and be like, why? No Apple, that's one of the most dominant markets. Well, the reason this will happen a lot of times is Apple takes a huge cut from a lot of these games. That's why, I believe Fortnite wasn't on Apple for the longest time. It might be back now. So seeing it on Android, where, a lot of people in other countries that don't have a lot of money especially, it just makes a lot of sense. So this actually makes me kind of believe this. Switch 2 version will be download only. Plan to release is Q1 2027 and will be a shadow drop. Now the source for this is a game journalist who used to work for GameBattles.com, which I don't know much about. Now when you actually go through this thread, everything they're saying doesn't even seem so crazy. And it seems like their source actually might be somebody at Rare as well, and whatever. So could I see Sea of Thieves coming over to the Switch 2? I could, and I think it would actually do pretty well over there, and I think it might include mouse controls. And yeah, I tried to play this game years ago. I'm talking about 6 years ago, probably on Game Pass. And I didn't know what to do. To me, I was like, whoa, a pirate game where you can just have all this fun and the game actually looks amazing. I got stuck on an island, and then somebody came and sunk my ship, and I deleted it. But maybe if it was on the Switch 2, it's something I could jump in periodically, and this would be a pretty big deal in my opinion if it does show up on the Switch 2. So now let's get into a massive update for Nintendo, what this means for Nintendo, as well as a game leak that we kind of all expect, but with this update, I think it makes it even just more possible than it already was. And what I'm talking about is the Unreal Engine 5.8 update. Now, normally we will get an Unreal Engine update here and there, and we'll be like, okay, that's pretty cool, I guess. We'll see how this goes. But this update is, it's going to be a game changer, truly. So Epic Games just officially launched Unreal Engine 5.8, framing it as the final planned major update for Unreal Engine 5 as a shift focus toward Unreal Engine 6. Instead of pushing raw graphical ceilings, Unreal Engine 5.8 focuses heavily on optimization, scale, and cross-platform performance. With this release is the introduction of Lumen Light. Up until now, Unreal Engine's real-time global illumination, which is called Lumen, I believe, has absolutely crushed the performance of handhelds and lower-spec hardware. Now, Lumen Light is explicitly optimized to preserve high-end lighting effects at a fraction of the cost. Also, and this is crazy, targeting 60 frames per second performance on the Nintendo Switch 2. Now, as far as I understand, with Unreal Engine, a lot of these games that were created in Unreal Engine could come over to the Switch 2, but it was just taking so much performance to do it, and this is going to cut out a lot of that performance and power, and it's really just going to be better optimized. And I'm sure I'm missing some buzzwords and keywords here and there, so this really is cool, and it has a lot of potential. And we could see some bigger games definitely show up on the Switch 2. Now, I think Kingdom Hearts 4, obviously this is coming over to the Switch 2. It was in the Nintendo Direct. I think this is one of those games that will be using Unreal Engine 5.8. So now that's looking even more promising on the Switch 2. There's a bunch of other games that are slipping my mind right now, but one of the major ones, or actually two I want to talk about, one of them is Expedition 33. This is a game we've all been waiting to show up at some point on the Switch 2. It just makes a ton of sense, right? And I remember the devs, even last year, saying, yeah, that's something we would love to do, but we don't know if we have the resources and the time and the money to make this happen. Now, we know this game was a breakout hit, won pretty much every game at the Game Awards, and yeah, I played this on my PlayStation 5. I guess I beat it. I didn't do like the in-game stuff. While I was playing it, I thought, wow, this is amazing. The graphics were pretty rough, at least in my opinion, but it wasn't, anything that you didn't want to play. And you could tell like a small team had developed it. The music was great. The gameplay was addicting. But I never thought it was like groundbreaking and the greatest thing of all time. Like everybody else said, they're like, oh my God, this is the greatest turn-based RPG ever. And it's getting people back in the genre. I just didn't have that attachment to it. I thought the story was good. It was funny because a lot of the characters look like other characters due to not having like a lot of assets and stuff, but it was great. A fun time. So on the Switch 2, I think that would be awesome. And as far as I know, with this new Unreal Engine update, that's even going to be like a bigger possibility seeing this on the Switch 2. And we even have multiple leaks showing up this week saying Nate the Hate reiterates Clair Obscur Expedition 33 is coming to the Switch 2 this year. So what I think has been going on is this update has been rumored for a while now. So I feel like some development teams were waiting for this to happen to maybe get their ports better optimized and then drop them on the Switch 2, opposed to dropping them and then never fixing them, or just getting whatever we got, or dropping them on the Switch 2 and then redeveloping them for 1.0 updates or whatever. Now another game I think we could finally possibly see, and this is just a random theory, Borderlands 4. This game was coming over to the Switch 2, then it was delayed indefinitely. What if Gearbox heard about this Unreal Engine update, because I'm sure if you're in the industry you knew this was coming or was a possibility, and they're like, look, let's just delay the Switch 2 port until Unreal Engine 5.8 comes out, then we'll definitely be able to optimize it better. It'll be a lot less taxing. Then we release this on the Switch 2, because I can just see that happening. And that's really the main takeaway from this. All these massive games that we think are going to come to the Switch 2, some of them show up, some of them say, it's just not happening. Maybe because it's not possible, or maybe because they just couldn't optimize them properly. So earlier in the video, that's why I was saying the Switch 2 is on a great trajectory right now, but with Unreal Engine 5.8, it could honestly skyrocket, and the possibilities are endless. So all these ports that I thought, maybe, maybe not, I'm just thinking, yeah, this could definitely happen if they want to put in the work. And that's why I said earlier, like, if all these games do show up on the Switch 2, what is the point of me having my PlayStation 5 if I can just play these on my Switch 2 now? And I know there's always going to be a point to have a PS5 to play the exclusives, but I keep saying if you can only buy one console this generation, the Switch 2, for various reasons, every day, more and more reasons, is starting to look like the clear-cut winner. But ladies and gentlemen, what do you think about this? Because your opinion matters most. So in the comments below, I would love to hear from you guys. I just realized my cat's behind me. But let me know what you guys are thinking, because this is some pretty exciting stuff. And if you made it to this part of the video, if you could do me a favor, hit a like and subscribe on the way out. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter on the way out, and consider becoming a channel member, as that is the ultimate way to support. And you guys know me, I'll see you very soon with a new video. Peace.